Hi, everybody. My name is Kerrie Bodendorf, and I'm here with another edition of the Melt Insider. Today, I'm talking to Rachelle SOMMA. Welcome, Rachelle.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, Rachelle, tell us where you live and how you first learned about the Melt method.
Great. So I'm actually originally from Virginia Beach, but I've been living in New York City for 15 years, working as like a visual and UX designer. And so I did ballet for 12 years when I was younger. And when in my 20s, I got my black belt in Kung Fu. And eventually I moved on to do pole dancing, where I found Melt. So I found Melt while at Body and Pole, where I train, and I saw them promoting a workshop for this thing called Melt Method, where they mentioned fascia. And I thought, wow, someone is finally talking about this. So I took the class where Sue Hitzman and Marissa Merlis were running it. And I was taking the class off and on. And it was finally put regularly on the schedule at the studio. But just like every other Melt story, I didn't really dive into it till I had a serious injury. And that kind of basically goes into like my Melt story. So my SI joint has always been unstable after a horse accident when I was 18 years old. I had all the signs of an unstable pelvis. I tore my hamstring attachment many times. I was losing flexibility in like both of my hamstrings. Yeah, and hamstring attachments, they take a long time to heal.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So then I got like a major foot sprain from doing nothing. I got turf toe. I had like pain in my upper back, and then I just kept on having like tightness in the psoas. So I was in pole class, and afterwards my right hip just didn't feel right, and I was having some minor pain. And after a month, it kind of went away. Then while on the train in New York City, everyone thought the train was fully in the station, and it wasn't. So everyone started walking towards the doors, and all of a sudden the train shifted and like took off, and everyone went flying. And so to catch myself, because there was no pole near me or anything, and I didn't want to like fall on people, I internally rotated my right leg to catch myself, and I heard a pop, and then I felt shooting pain similar to what I was having in class. So I limped off the train, and now I was dealing with chronic pain for months. I finally got an MRI and found out that I torn my right hip labrum. And I did not want to have surgery. Like every single time I had this visceral reaction of just the thought of it. Like I would get faint. I almost wanted to pass out, just the thought of having surgery. Joints, like I said, joints really freaked me out. And it's funny because I actually do remember bumping into Sue at an event in New York. And I remember her saying to me, she was, "You have a torn hip labrum?" I said, "Yeah." And she was, "Do not get surgery. We can get you out of pain." And I was like, "Okay, I believe you." So at this point, I had my level 1 training under my belt, and I was doing regular PT prescribed by my sports medicine doctor. But after a few months, my therapist actually gave up on me. He even said, he's like, "I can't help anymore," and mentioned me like getting surgery. So what I noticed with my knowledge of Melt and coming from a dance background was this guy was only concentrating on like strength training, and he was only strengthening the one side. My left side got weak, but also my pelvis is slightly twisted from the accident. So he got my injured side much stronger, but now I needed to do more on my own to help get my pelvis in better alignment, because it was, like I said, it was having a waterfall effect on that side. So my right hip is twisted forward. It causes the hip joint to come out a little bit more, and it's catching that tear. And then it causes my ribs to collapse more on that side, which led to the pain in my foot and in my shoulder blade.
Right.
So, with regular melting, I was able to get out of pain, and I don't have full range of motion of the joint like I used to in a dancer perspective. But I was happy to be pain-free, and it did change my perspective of just being happy to do what I could with movement. Even if I wasn't back to where I was originally, this wasn't an overnight thought too. Like it takes months like for me to even realize this. And like my brother had said, who's also a dancer, said like, you're going through dealing with the death of the ego. Like I don't need to do crazy pole tricks. That could injure me and prevent me from doing the thing I love, which is dancing. So, and it's interesting because, not to sound like a non-believer, but I was surprised at how effective Melt was, because when you are in pain, you just want to give up. It's mentally exhausting. So that's why
it's all you can think about.
Exactly. I going to work, sitting, laying down, walking, everything just was so much, it's just pain. And of course people don't know that you're in pain because you're just going about your day. And so other people don't realize it. Someone might bump into you, it's like,
Yeah.
and so that's why I actually I wanted to start teaching to help people realize like what Sue said to me that day, which was, we can get you feeling better. But also, like I said, I feel for my clients and my students, and I can actually say, have gone through that. Like I've been there and it is possible.
Yeah, exactly. And, so many of the melt instructors have the same story. It's like they found melt, it helped them. They wanted to get trained so they could help everybody else. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
And just to talk about the tools that we use these soft balls on the hands and feet and these lovely little soft foam rollers. We do very little foam rolling. So if you say, oh yeah, I foam roll, that's not something for me. We do very little rolling in melt. We hydrate the connective tissue. It helps align our joints at the centers. It helps with posture. It helps with sleep and digestion. I mean, you name it. It helps with overall mood. It helped me with my anxiety and panic attacks. I mean, it's unbelievable. And every single time I have a class and get an email afterwards and people are thanking me, I'm like, oh, it's the best job in the world to be a melt instructor. Especially
to talk about the anxiety that people have been going through. It's like, even during COVID, I have worked with coworkers to be like, they're like, oh, I have a roller. I'm like, I know you probably have a roller, but this one's, I was like, this one's different. It's softer. It's not going to be intense on the body. And I help them relax their nervous system. It's just like, it's so good. I love it.
So do you have, what is your go-to, let's say either move or sequence when you feel your hip pain returning?
Inner thigh is my favorite.
Inner thigh.
Inner thigh. I love that one. And obviously definitely the foot treatment, because that one goes right up to the leg. And I love the clams. I'm sorry, I should say I have a love-hate relationship with the clams.
I think we all have a love-hate relationship.
So yes, definitely. So that one is like my go-to. I love it. I hate it, but it does help me. And so when it's ever like my SI joint feels a little bit out of place, I will do the seated compression. I will actually just put, the SI joint shear. I'll go and do that move. And lengthening, I love the tuck and tilt challenge is really great. And figure 4 is really great to create that spacing of that joint away from it. So it feels really good for that.
Yeah. And I just want to mention for all our listeners, Rachelle named all of these moves that do not put the roller directly on the hip joint. So melt has a way to work indirectly. And inner thigh, the first thing she mentioned, is fantastic, not only for anything going on in the inner thigh, like pelvic floor, psoas, but can also help with your neck and is also a great way to get into low back pain. So we don't have to put the roller where you have pain to get out of pain, which is really awesome.
Oh, definitely. So, every time, I was going to say is every time I release the pelvis, I do the neck turn. Oh my gosh, my neck can move so freely. It's amazing. And I'm just always shocked at that indirect change. And I love checking that with students too.
Yeah, I know. I love it. It's like, let's work on the lower body. Who feels more ribs on the floor? And I see everybody's hands go up. I'm like, what?
Yes.
See, exactly. I told you don't have to jam the roller into that gremlin that's living between your shoulder blade and spine. We can just melt the inner thigh. All right. So Rachelle, do you teach classes?
Yes, I actually teach at a place called Pilates Social in New York City, but I'm only teaching on Zoom. It's at Sundays at 10 a.m.
Wonderful. So we are going to put all of Rachelle's contact information in the description of this video. And if you would like to get in touch with me to tell me your melt story, I'll also put my email address there as well. So Rachelle, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love always seeing you.
Happy melting, everybody.